Okay, good morning. And at this time, I will call the February 27th, 2020 meeting to order for the Dixon County Commission. And if you all would please stand and join in the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's interesting to have a crowd like this. A lot of times we have some empty seats out there, and not as many today, but certainly glad to have all of you here and the interest that you have in some of the particular items that we're discussing. The first thing we have is the approval of the agenda. We do not have any additions to the agenda or deletions, and so I would move that we approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and the second for approval of the agenda as printed. Is there any other discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the February 20th meeting, also fund expenditures of $1,063,740.96, and also abatements of $265.68.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
We have the motion and the second for approval of the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll go to commissioner comments. Craig, do you have anything?
Yeah, last Monday, I went over to Swain County and sat on their drug court. It was interesting. They have about 105 clients. They've been doing it now for about 15 years, I believe. I sat with Ben Sexton, Judge Ben Sexton. I think we need something like that. It's going to be labor intense. They're going to have the right people to do it. The judge is going to be the most important part of it then, because you want to be positive when you're having these people in the program. I'm going to Beloit today, this afternoon, for the North Central Regional Planning Commission, and then I got an email I shared with Brad, the new bridge that we had on between 13 and 1400 Avenue on Quail Road. They appreciate the new bridge, but now the water's holding the road and they can't use it. I guess that'd be about the best way to say it. So, and I let Brad know about it, and it might be the township might need to do some grading on the road. That's all I have, man.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
I just want to say, thank goodness we didn't have a lot of snow. I'm proud to travel safe highways and roads.
Okay. Earlier today, I attended a Military Affairs Council breakfast over at Junction City, and it's kind of a community partnership they have. They had Colonel Chivers speak. He had been part of a rotation, Atlantic Resolve, and it was something where they work with, a lot of them are the NATO countries, but also our allies, and it's just to assure our allies that we're there for them, but also to deter those that are adverse to the U.S. and freedom. And so anyway, he gave a very insightful interview or discussion and talk on it, and it just reminds you and impresses you the sacrifice and the duty that these military people have, to protect our freedoms, and gives you a great appreciation. One of the things that did come up in the discussion is they're talking about getting a group of people that they'd like to come over and visit our Abilene area, just to kind of introduce some of the new people that are coming to Fort Riley. And so it's kind of an opportunity to reach out and help them facilitate that. And that's all I have. Are there any other committee reports? I don't believe we have any.
You might. Bruce was in this morning too.
Okay. Yes, earlier this morning during our work study session, we actually had 2 people come in, and Bruce came from the appraiser's office and said that as far as some of the ag lands that they're holding pretty constant, they're actually on a rolling average, and probably this will be the year that they peak and would go up a little bit in our county, and then it should start correcting itself and going back down. it's over a 7-year period, and so it's, you know, hopefully doesn't move up too fast or decline too quickly, and it's just to kind of strike an average. But also kind of presented how it was across the state and some of the challenges that we would have as far as the state of Kansas. But more specific, he talked about Dickinson County. Also, we had Chancey Smith, he's our emergency preparedness director, in and talked about a drill that they're going to go through as far as planning for emergencies and tornadoes, and he's had a lot of experience in that area, but that's something that will have a tabletop taking place, and be also attending some events in regards to that. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to our reports from county officers, and I don't think we'll have anything from Doug because I don't believe he's here today, but Brad, if you'd go ahead and present your report.
Sure. The first thing is a report from Doug on the nuisance case out at what we'll call the Flynn Nursery on Old Fortage, where we had several complaints about the condition of that property. Doug had filed the action in civil court to enforce our zoning regulations out there. He had received a summary judgment. The owners of that property were given until April 6th to have it cleaned up to the judgment of Tim Hamilton to make sure that it meets our requirements. If they do not have it done at that point, they were notified that the Judge Rosner would enforce a $50 a day fine against them. So between now and then, it remains to be seen if they get that taken care of, but it's in the works and it's been through the court system, and hopefully that will be taken care of. So we had a jail update meeting on Monday. Just a few highlights to give you a little progress report. I won't go through all of them, but the water line on the east side that would connect between First Street and Cottage has been installed with the new fire hydrant. The only part that's not installed is the part that will go underneath First Street. It's scheduled the boring company to come in and get that done. That can be about 3 weeks out, but that's progress well. They do have the fire hydrant in. Looking back, you know, we agreed to, the city provided the fire hydrant. We agreed to pay to have it installed. Since we were connecting those two water mains together, it'd be a good addition to the neighborhood to have that ability there. So that's progressed well. The big, what we'll call the big hole out here on the east side of the courthouse has been opened up farther. As Barb noted, the piles of dirt got bigger outside her windows. They're looking at getting that sub foundation and footing put in next week, and they're telling me that once they get that done, they get the footings up, they'll backfill that, and some of our dirt will disappear out here then. So, but it is progressing. Steel arrived this week. It was supposed to be here Tuesday. It did arrive Tuesday. If you drive around the project, you'll see a lot of the structural steel has been put out there on the ground, so that's a good thing. It's ready to go up. And if you notice, there's some walls actually going up as we speak. It's amazing what a little bit of good weather will do to provide those contractors. And as Ron said, we're lucky we didn't get that snow, or it would have put us back to a standstill. The architect had been contacted by a vendor who provides job site cameras, and they are interested in recording the progress of our jail. This is a jail that's a little unique, and they're using all steel cells as opposed to concrete and block. And they're working with Poly Jail to set up some promotional videos. They have agreed to put a couple job site cameras on site at no cost to us that would monitor the progress of the project, and we've agreed to let them do that as long as they give us a feed that we can put on our website that our citizens can go on and look at and monitor the project as well. So I think that would be a good thing, and we'll get those installed as soon as they come in. So the last thing just to highlight is the contractor and superintendent's telling me that 2 weeks, week and a half from now, weather permitting, we should have a floorboard out there on the main cell area or main jail area, and start seeing some structural steel ready to go up. So things that should start progressing pretty quick from here on out. We purchased diesel fuel this week. Robson got the low bid at $1.93 a gallon. So we'll be up on that. The two vehicles you declared surplus a few weeks ago, the Escape and the Ford Ranger. The Escape sold for $3,600. Ford Ranger brought $2,300 on Purple Wave. And then you heard about the tabletop exercise, and I'd added to your future items the North Central Kansas County Highway officials meeting on April 1st. So you might put that on your calendar. So
And that's at Ellsworth.
that's in Ellsworth, yes. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Ellsworth, that's probably 9 to 3.
Thereabouts, yeah. Yeah. Starts at 9 and should finish about 2:30 or 3.
Okay, I'll just go briefly to notices and communications. We just have notice here, Deputy Mark Longbine will be retiring, and we're having a reception. It's going to be taking place for him at the courthouse here Friday, March 27th. We also have received from North Central Kansas Highway Association, and that is what you had mentioned. It said the meeting is going to start promptly at 9 a.m. And go through the afternoon. So that will be at Ellsworth. And we can RSVP to that later. And we have a notice, and this is on a bankruptcy. It's not particularly a surprise. It's one we read about in the news on the opioid lawsuits, and we have partnered in on some of that, but it was just noticed that Purdue Pharma has filed for bankruptcy on that, and so we've been notified on that particular item. And that's all we have. Are there any other items?
Yes, Lynn, I got a deal on our computer. The North Central Regional Planning Commission is excited to announce Friday, March 16th March 6th is a Dixon County Home Ownership Pilot Program. This pilot program is limited. Our primary goal is to reduce the number of homes on the market, and secondary goal is to attract alumni back to the region to work, study, buy business, or retire. We have enough funds assisted in the area to purchase 10 or 15 homes, depending on the purchase price. The first pilot program was launched in Marshall County. The pilot program will be slightly different. We plan to use what we've learned in these pilot programs to create a regional relocation home ownership program in the future. The home ownership program offers up to 10% of the purchase price, $10,000 maximum, as a loan at 4% fixed interest. This is going to take place March 6th, and it's at the library. What I saw the time on here.
The Abilene Public Library?
Yeah, yeah. 1:30.
We may want to turn that over to the newspaper, and maybe you can mention that on your radio program, Brad, too, because just to let people see if that's something that would fit into their plans or how that would work. Okay, I believe that's all we have. The next item is that of to consider resolutions. The resolution that we have to consider today is the resolution to approve the proposed extension district. And I know from the number of people here that there's a number of people interested in that particular resolution. It is a first step type resolution that if it were to pass, then that actually Marion County would be aware that we are receptive to the idea, they're receptive to the idea, but then there still would need to be some of the details worked out contractually. So it's a first step, and also it would trigger a protest period. And Brad, do you have any other summary information you'd like to give? And then after Brad does that, probably if the commission has any questions at that point or comment, we will make those. And then after that, we would open it up for public comment. So Brad, if you'd offer a summary, if there's anything you'd want to bring out in particular.
Yeah, this is just a resolution that would, that shows your intent to further the investigation on the districting between us and Marion County. Marion County passed theirs last month, and this is, which essentially petitioned you to look at the same thing. The resolution today, if it's passed, would then go to Barb, who would do the required statutory advertising. Once that second or third advertising is done, I don't remember. Second. Then that would trigger the 60-day protest period. If there's no valid protest received, then you would then consider a second resolution after negotiations and an agreement is made to actually do the extension district. So if a protest petition is received, and then it would trigger an election that Barb would then manage. So today is the resolution for the further consideration of the extension district.
Are there any questions or comments from the commission that you'd want to make at this time before it's open to the public comment?
I have none.
Okay. What we do on the public comment, because we do want to hear from you, you need to go ahead and step to the podium and you can make your comments. We're going to have 3 minutes for comments per person, and that allows everybody a chance or more people to make comments. But also, if it's something where it's repetitious, where somebody already made kind of the same point that you're trying to make, we kind of ask for representatives or try to avoid that particular duplication. The other thing that comes up, and it's just kind of a procedural type thing, but if someone makes a comment and you happen to not agree or you have a question and so on, the comments really are being made to us, and so you'll need to wait kind of your chance to step up to the podium to pose the question. So we don't want to have something where in the audience, the first row is talking to someone in the third row and back and forth and so on, even though that may seem a quicker solution, but just to maintain order so we can also hear everybody's comment. So at this time, if there's anyone that would want to make a comment, if you'd go ahead and step to the podium, give your name, and we'll receive your comments and have those recorded. And I know there's a long line. No.
I'm not shy, you know that.
Yes.
My name is Hank Royer, for those who don't know me. I am an attorney here in Abilene. I've largely practiced in the elder law area for the last 45 years. I've taught college classes on the subject and so forth. I am here not so much from a financial point of view on this resolution, but from a mechanical point of view. And for reasons I'll expand on, I think it's probably the worst idea I've ever heard. If you consider the fact that our nursing homes in this state they get 61% of their revenue from Medicaid, and that's from the latest book they put out. And 65% of the people that are in nursing homes are on CanCare, which used to be Medicaid. The Medicaid system, for all its flaws, was a relatively smooth operation when it was administered by SRS. That is not the situation anymore. The governor contracted it out to God knows where. They don't process applications. It's an absolute disaster. Many of us that used to handle these type of things for our clients are just not doing it, because I can send in an application that I know has everything right. And I'll just use my mother as an example. After 3 years in the nursing home, she qualified. To qualify, you got to spend all your money, first of all. Nobody rich is applying for this. You got to be down to $2,000 cash to apply for CanCare. And then, if you go through the process, you send it in by fax to God knows where. They may or may not ever respond to you. In my mother's case, I used Representative Barker to go and get the secretary to find the application. They had lost it. I knew what I was doing. I had all the documents right. I had to submit them 3 times. It took almost exactly 1 year to get her approved. The day after she died, they called me and said her application had been approved. It's a disaster. Now, with we attorneys withdrawing from it because our clients aren't happy. We can fill out all the papers and send them in, but it goes to Never Never Land and usually is not processed efficiently. And the clients blame us. We don't have anything to do with it. We can't even talk to a humanoid. You send it in by fax. Now, you took a bold step forward, and put a staff person down here to help people fill out these applications, which I applaud you for. I think that was a very good move, because the nursing homes didn't really have the expertise or staff to do it, and they have a conflict of interest, because the people who are applying, there are certain small things that are exempt they want to keep. And I've got a case going on right now in Salina where they don't want to let the guy keep his house even though it's exempt. They tell him he's got to sell it if he's going to stay in their nursing home, which isn't the law. But they've got a conflict of interest, because if you understand, the nursing homes charge between $6,000 to $10,000 a month for care. Medicaid, if they get it approved, pays them $2,951 a month. So they get less than $3,000 if it's successfully approved. So they aren't a big fan of it. And I gave you some data there that came from the Salina Journal, the second page last year. I don't have current data, but this is December of 18. They said in an average year, the state has to take over 1 or 2 nursing homes. By the end of 2018, they had taken over 22 nursing homes that were insolvent. The main reason for their insolvency is the people not being able to pay and not being able to get this token, $2,951, through the CanCare program, because they just don't get processed. And you have to understand, I work with the nursing homes, and where they do try and help, quite often the person might pass away during that year or year and a half it's under process, and then the family loses interest on it, and they don't have the money to pay the bills, so they never get paid. They don't process it anymore after the person dies. Well, you've got a person here to help, and that's great. But if you consolidate, I can almost guarantee that person will be called on for services by Marion County, with probably the same number of constituents down there in their nursing facilities as we have here. And if you're going to double up the caseload on this person, and not to, including the windshield time to run back and forth, I think you're doing a terrible disservice to the residents of Dickinson County. You need to keep this person here, focusing exclusively on Dickinson County cases, and they're going to have more than a full-time job, I guarantee you, for just Dickinson County. But to spread that service to another county, I think is a terrible, terrible idea. Because if anything, you may need more staff people as time goes by to try and figure out this program. Incidentally, the state of Kansas was the only state in the union that the federal government was going to kick out of the Medicaid program last year because of the terrible administration. They gave them an extension, so we're still in it. But we're the only state in the union that was blessed with that challenge because of the terrible administration. So I applaud you for what you've done, but do not dilute it in any way, shape, or form by providing those services to another county. Or you'll be doing a disservice to the people that you represent here. So that's my comments.
I might mention, and Renee, I know you can handle some of this too. Just kind of give some background. It used to be Home Health Hospice, and Carol Whitehair and Susie Gassman, I think, implemented much of the program. And of course, in a way, that's it was a community concern, and so they handed that off to the county. And of course, we have a growing population, and so, you know, as far as the form, it's 40-some pages, but we don't really have any control over that. I mean, as a county, we couldn't say, well, we're going to make it 10 pages or 5 pages to streamline it. It's a form that this is the procedure you have to go through. And you know, for years we've had a task force of the aging here in Dickinson County, and I know they have the same thing in Marion County, and so they've been faced with some of the same issues. And Renee, I know you were going to step up, and she's kind of one of our experts from experience on that, because you've done a lot of work with people in our county.
Let me just touch on that now. I'll
Yes.
defer to her, but you mentioned Susie Gassman. She was a social worker up there. She got it by default. She did not want the job, and she worked with Carol over because hospice obviously has a lot of the patients.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not have the adequate resources to do it. They acknowledged that. They were a default position themselves, and they knew that more help was needed. And that's the reason they came to you, and you had the foresight to get into the providing a resource here.
It's kind of I mean, when it's a situation like that, you look for a community solution, and so, we did work with them on that, but.
The hospital subsidizing the nursing home here, that we are blessed that Village Manor does take people in. There are many nursing homes in this state that will not take anybody in that needs care unless they can prove they can private pay. A few of them say if you're there for 18 months on private pay, so you only have to spend $180,000 with them or so, that they will then let you apply for Medicaid. But the majority of the nursing homes in Kansas will not take anybody who cannot pay full tilt now because they're going bankrupt. That's all there is to it. No,
Yes, and they did hand that off to us, I guess, around 2017 or so, but Renee, if you'd
Just for a
address
moment.
that, please.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Royer, for your actually your support of the work we've been doing. The one thing that I just want to mention is exactly what you said, Mr. Peterson. There is a Department on Aging down there, and actually when I worked in Marion County, she and I became really good friends, and so she's probably one of my mentors as I've worked on this, as well as Susie Gassman. I think she's the first one who pulled me into a hospital room and said, we need help with this. And so I am looking forward to being able to spend more time doing that as well, but I do understand your concern. Did you have any questions for me in regards to that?
Well, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Renee, in relationship to workloads. How about the Social Security applicants that are, our county's aging, obviously. We're seeing a lot of people putting in applications and not able to. Are you involved with that too?
I am, yes, to some degree. I have often said that my perfect sabbatical would be half of that time in the Social Security office and half of that time in CanCare, so that I knew the ins and outs, because we know there's ins and outs to those programs that would be very helpful for someone to become an expert on. Because, as Mr. Royer mentioned, even if you do everything right, I mean, we certainly had those situations as well where we're, for the third time, we're giving them exactly the same information. Finally, I have one contact there at CanCare where I can just call and say, what's going on? Because I just had to do that this week. We were able to move on. It was a citizenship issue, which, new thing this week for me. And so I think that, I'm sorry, go back to your question. I went off on a tangent.
The workload of people applying for
Yes.
Social Security, and then we, of course, have the nursing home issues too.
Yeah, sure. So I have been helping to some degree with the Social Security. Again, looking forward to being able to spend more time to really get the ins and outs on that. What I found with the people I've helped, and actually I went with someone to the Social Security office who had kind of a unique situation, and I just wanted to know what their answer would be, because I was like, really, they got to be more helpful. You got to know the questions to ask, whether that's with a healthcare provider, whether that's with Social Security, whether that's with CanCare. Sometimes you can get through if it's CanCare. So yes, I think more information is needed. Certainly, at least probably once a week, I have someone who's getting ready to retire that calls me.
And then Renee, you also help as far as people kind of comparing plans, Plan A, Plan B on Medicare. And
Oh, sure.
and
Yes.
So that's part of the
Yes.
extension.
Yes. Yes.
Contribution.
Yes, absolutely. We do that every year as part of senior health insurance counseling. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
other questions, guys? Okay.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Don Helwig from Ober Sullivan. I am also the past chairman of the Dickinson County Extension Council. A couple of things that have come up this morning regarding specific tasks and such like that our office is assisting with now. But I want to make the point that we are first and foremost an educational organization. We cannot do the kinds of work that we've just talked about, whether it's elder care or other things, simply with our paid staff. A good part of what we do, especially for the youth programs that Jill oversees, is recruitment of volunteers. And so that, I want everyone to understand that a good part of what we do, whether it's going to be with the SHIP program, the Medicare counseling, or VITA, volunteer income tax assistance, any of these things are going to depend a great deal on whether we can recruit and train good volunteers to assist with those things. There's no way in the world that we can do it all with just 4 agents, or in a district if we have 6. Whatever the number is still not a practical application that we're going to be able to do all those things in-house. And I think that's something that we need to understand, is that we're an educational organization. We team with Kansas State University to bring research out here to the country, where people can actually make use of that research information and assist those people. We do one-on-one visitations whenever we can, but the primary goal of Extension, the district and Kansas State, is the push to get education out here in the country. So I believe that our proposal to work toward districting with Marion County increases the ability to do that by the specialization of individual agents. And granted, they are spread across 2 counties, but you still have a lot more expertise close to home that way than only when you can get specialists to come out from the university. So I hope you will keep that in mind. I've been at this long enough that we've been through several iterations and several attempts at districting. In between and along with those, we've seen funding vary a lot depending on who's sitting in your chairs. And so I understand the concerns that have been expressed out in the media and on social media, especially about creating a new taxing unit, those kinds of things. But extension districts in general have shown across the state that they are good stewards of taxpayer money. They are, after all, taxpayers just like everyone else here. So I think that should be an issue that takes care of itself. In addition to that, the members of this district board, if it is created, first would be appointed by you, but after that would go to election at a general election. So again, just as with the school district, the ultimate control of that taxing authority is by the voters. And so I think that's an improvement over the system we have now. So I would encourage you to support this. As we said the last time we met with you, this is not the end, but the beginning of a process, and you will get several more bites at the apple, if you will, before this would be a done deal. So I thank you for giving us a consideration and at least letting us tell you what we think about the process. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we have a few people that have also from areas where they have districts. And yes, Julie?
Thank you. Thank you. At the last meeting, the question was asked if Dickinson County Extension was sufficiently funded, and the answer was yes. So my question is, if it's not broke, why fix it? A few talking points. While Dickinson County Extension anticipates a lower mill levy, Kansas state statute will allow up to 2.5 mills for extension. Both Marion and Dickinson County have the same number of board members under this proposal, despite Dickinson County having a larger population. While Dickinson County Extension Office may leave the county's budget, that does not guarantee the county's budget is going to decrease by that same amount. Not all counties in Kansas are part of extensions, nor extension districts, nor are they exploring them. Some counties have found it's just not the right fit for them. It's obvious that Marion County is going to benefit from this merger. But what do Dickinson County residents stand to gain? We are really excited that we're having additional staff joining the Extension Office. People in Dickinson County are going to benefit, but why should we dilute that by partnering with another county? Thank you.
And there were several points. I might just address one because we do look at the budget and very seriously look at it. We will start the budget process. I mean, the budget is established for this year, and this process is going to take time. But we would start a budget process for 2021 that is starting to be in the works now with department heads, elected officials, and then we will consider budget requests. Now, if we remove the portion out of our budget that has to do with extension, I mean, that portion would be gone. So there would be no reason for us to have that line item back in our budget. Now, as far as the total budget, that goes back to what the requests are and considerations and just weighing what the needs are. And I know all of us as taxpayers are concerned, and there's lots of, you know, the city's involved, the school district is involved, the hospital, and on as far as when you look at your property tax billing. But we also have the continual situation where people still have an expectation for a certain level of services and sometimes want more. And we have no guarantees to try to predict what would be some of the prices and needs on, you know, further out. So, you know, I have a situation, I'll just mention the example, the snowstorm that hit more in McPherson County and down around Hillsborough and to the west. Well, that probably had more of an impact as far as the trucks and equipment and salt and brine and treating the highways. And we kind of didn't have anything happen. But, you know, there's variables like that that come into play. And kind of borrowing a line from Laverne Myers is here. And he always used to say, you know, if there's some area that you really want us to cut out completely or cut back on, you know, let us know. I mean, because usually what happens is people still want their type of service. And I always remember a conversation I had with someone, and they said, you know, the property tax, you know, is this amount, and oh my goodness, and you know, is there anything you can do? And then his closing remark after he kind of pled his case was, I need more gravel on my road. And so, you know, I mean, it's kind of a, you know, kind of a back and forth, and it is kind of funny that he said that, but then again, it is part of the dilemma and situation we have. We all want the best of services, but that portion would be removed from the budget as far as the extension office, because they would be freestanding at that particular point. Are there other comments or questions? And I know a lot of you came here, so I'm sure there's a few of you that have something you want to say, or maybe you're hoping someone else will say it.
I'm Carl Garten. I was the director of the Central Kansas District for 15 years and was the start of that. Before that time, I was the director of the program there and worked with the county commissioners for 20 years. So I have a lot of history of both systems and everything. The big thing that once we went into a district, Saline and Ottawa, was that it gave us the capability of knowing we had funds each and every year and we would be receiving those. Over that 15-year period, our mill levy, or the board, did not increase it, but by the hundreds of attempts, until just last few years they raised it up thinking the state was going to put a lid on it, and then have dropped it back down to where it's been before this coming up year. So they had that for a short period of time, and there were 2 years raising it by 1/10 of a mil just to assure them that there would be no freeze put on it. But it gave us the capability as a unit there to know that our funding was going to be level over those years. You as commissioners have demands every year from different departments where you have to turn around and figure out how I'm going to fund these. And you know, sometimes somebody else has to lose some money. And as I'll quote one of our former commissioners in Saline County was, well, extension is one of the bastard children of the county commissioners. We're not a full-fledged department of yours. We are a department that you are required to fund by the state, but we are not one of your departments. And so the extension has a separate board. They take your funds, they do with it what they're done, and they follow some different rules than what you will follow here. And so many times extension in those situations, well, we got to cut some money somewhere. So extension, conservation district, those groups many times got cut. So by putting us into a district, though, that made that funding much more leveler, kept it even through that period of time, made sure that we had dollars there. And to address the issue that Mr. Royer had as far as, if those programs become a need that extension needs to do, then that gives them the capability to address those issues and maybe then look at increasing the mill levy to address those if that's what the public wants. And so that's one of the things you need to look at as far as, but I think it's been a very good tool to use. We used it over there with Saline and Ottawa County for, like I said, the last 15 years. And it's been an excellent tool to use to address the needs of the public and serve those things. The concerns about whether or not, in our case, we took on a 2-agent county and we had 6 agents at time. And but even that additional staff, that allowed us to even specialize more, and it made the situation work much better. Yes, it was a good thing for Ottawa County because they got additional services that they needed, but at the same time we in Saline County gained additional services from the thing too. And so it becomes a win-win situation. The concern about the number of board members from each county, I know that was even a concern in our situation, but again, we brought that group together. They were all taxpayers, they were all people that were interested in extension, and they worked together as a group. There wasn't anything that I ever felt that one county was trying to get from somebody else. They all worked together as a total group and a unit to address the issues of the whole district. And so hopefully that will be the situation here as it's been, I think, across the state and all the others. The other thing that's a good issue, I think, from this is now the board is elected. Those board members are elected on the ballot. Each election that comes up in the odd years when you do city commissioners and school districts and those things. And so that becomes another good issue too from the way that it's been done in the past too. So if you got any other questions, I'd be glad to help you answer.
Yeah, Carl, I have a question. How many people do you have filed for those positions?
Depends on the year.
Well, I mean, you're the running arm.
This last year we had positions. In one county I had 2, the other one I had 3. There was 2 positions in each county that come up every time that election comes around.
Yeah.
And so some years, I guess the most I've ever had was 4, one time that filed. But mostly time, Craig, it's just the 2 that you get in there. And many times that's because those are excellent people that are there. And people say, well, if they're doing it, I'm not going to run too, And so it's, it gets to be sometimes a challenge, but we've always had people that have run. So, and we've had several times that the election came down to the final ballot to see whether or not which one would become the board member. So,
Well, I just bring that up as I know I'm what district it is, but they've had some that haven't filed for the position. So.
yeah, I know there's been some challenges in some places, but we have 2 new board members that came on this time in our district. So,
That's all I have, Lynn.
okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a few things, Lynn, so I get
Yes,
that.
yeah.
I guess I'm the black sheep of the family. Extension means a lot to me and its support to its community or communities, whether it's Marion County or Dickinson County. Our youth are important to us and the upbringing of those youth. We see our detention centers, which I serve on the board on, being full because we don't know where to put people. I'm concerned that our youth needs to have more attention, and we need to provide services for the youth. I realize it comes with a cost, but believe me, the cost of incarceration, whether it's adults or children, is pretty darn high, and we need to start somewhere. I'm very proud of our extension service in Dickinson County and what we pay. I looked at the charts and realized sometimes it looks like we're really paying a lot of money out. But I'll do everything within my power to make sure that our group of people in Dickinson County are well taken care of, and I support that.
Okay, thank you. Are there other comments? And I know we've kind of talk about some specific things, and I know extension's very encompassing. Tom, I'll go ahead and first, I know a couple of you raised hands.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom Clausen. I'm a Mitchell County Commissioner, and prior to Mitchell County Commissioner, I was a 4-H leader for 20 years and a Post-Rock Extension Board member for 22 years. I was on the, we're Post-Rock Extension District number 1. We cover Mitchell, Lincoln, Jewell, Smith, and Osborne County. We were named number 1 because we were the first group of counties to form the Extension District, and so I guess you might call me a charter member. I was on the Mitchell County Board at the time, and they kept me on as one of the board members for the Extension District. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to tell you how it works for us. We were a small county, not as heavily populated as Dickinson County, but we were in trouble because we couldn't afford to have 2 agents at the time in Mitchell County. We couldn't fund them at the appropriate salary. And we had, in Lincoln County and Mitchell County, we had a lot of similar interests. We had a John Deere dealership that had agencies in both counties. We had a big fertilizer dealership, had agencies in both counties. And then we knew the county people very, very well, and that county line didn't mean much to us. So it worked out real well for us. We joined with Lincoln County in I didn't bring any figures with me, so I'm thinking it's extemporaneously here. But we went with Lincoln County in 1995. So we were a 2-county district. And we did that for 3 or 4 years, and finally one of my board members said, this is not what we envisioned. A district should be more than just 2 counties. And so we went to a couple other counties. We didn't have anything to do with this. And all of a sudden, in 2004, Osborne and Jewell came to one of our meetings and said, we want to be part of your district. We have a lot of similarities in Osborne, Jewell, Mitchell, and Lincoln, and we'd like to be part of your district. So they joined with a minimum of effort, and at that time, Smith County was surrounded by Post-Rock Extension District on 2 sides, Nebraska on the north side and Phillips County on the west. So Smith said, well, we would like to be part of your district too. And we approached them several times, and they said they turned us down. And so they became part of the district. And what I'm saying is we have a large district. It's 90 miles from northwest corner to southeast corner. And our agents are able to take care of the job very, very well. We have 7 full-time agents, 5 full-time office professionals, and at any given time, 3 or 4 paraprofessionals. So we got a big staff and a big, big area. And it worked real well for us. And our tax base, our tax expenditure has not increased that much. I'm trying to say here, 2.5% was our cap. That's what we get by state, that was what we get levy. And we've never hit that 2.5. We hit 2.4 at one time, but usually it hangs around 1.9, 2.1. And Chris, I don't know what we are right now. I should have checked that out, but I didn't. I can look at my tax statement.
I think you guys are about 1.7 now.
1.7? So we're actually spending a lot less money now than we would have had we been a standalone county. And it's worked really, really well for us. The logistics of getting agents from one location or another are pretty strenuous at times. We do have 7 county cars for or 7 district cars, and so we do. Every agent's got their own car, so they're able to make that trip and go together and work collectively. And county fairs was a big issue. Everybody said, "What do you about county fairs?" County fairs haven't changed a bit. The county fair is a situation that needs to be taken care of by the county commissioners and the individual fair boards. So in that 7 county or 5 county district, we still have 5 county fairs. That makes it difficult for the agents to cover those fairs, but it gets done. So it's worked really well for us. I'm not trying to promote extension. I'm not trying to promote this program, but it's worked well for us, and you need to take a look at how it worked for you. There's big counties, and Chris, I don't want to step on your toes, but I don't suppose Wyandotte, Johnson, Sedgwick will ever district. Although Saline County did, which is somewhat of a surprise. Yeah, I'm surprised you guys did. I'm glad you did, because Ottawa County is a great group of people, and I'm sure you guys are working well together. So we are not regretting anything that we did. The only thing that we somewhat regret is that we didn't push this along further, because we didn't really reap the benefit until we became a 5-county district. If we hadn't have done that, we'd have had 10 full-time agents, the same number of paraprofessionals. So we think we've saved the district 5 full-time jobs. And let's face it, an agent, by the time you figure in all the expenses, costs you $100,000 a year. I feel we saved $300,000 for those 5 counties. That's just something to look at. One of the things I'm going to tell you right now, it hasn't all been a bed of roses. We've got 7 full-time agents, and of those 7 agents, only 1 started out with us. The rest of them left through attrition, and some of them left, how shall I say this, through a human resources issue, because not all agents embrace this idea. When we proposed this idea to our agents, everyone was in favor of it. But as the situation became more and more fluid, some of the agents couldn't make that adjustment. Just couldn't do it. They couldn't see that county line. That county line between Mitchell and Jewell, or between Lincoln and Mitchell County, has got a sign that says entering Mitchell County. For some reason, they had trouble crossing that line. And that's one of the things that we ran into. But we've got a really good group of agents right now. We're short 1 or 2, but those positions will be filled. And we're able to fund everything we need to do in those 5 counties. 4-H programs, horticulture programs, ag programs, livestock programs, they've all been adequately funded and certainly well represented in their individual aspects. So I'm here to answer questions, not really to promote extension, not extension to district, but if you have any questions, let me know, because we have been through it all. We've seen it all, and right now things are running very smoothly, and I would hate to go back the way it was before. In fact, I can't see doing that. And I've talked to some other county commissioners out west. Their programs are running smooth, but there's one county that would like to, they've been in and out. They would like to pull out of the program. Financially, that'd be a tremendous hardship, and every time I see that county commissioner, and we talk about that, I encourage them to stay with the program. It's been a good program for us. I've taken more time than I should, but I'm here to answer questions and not promote districting.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Yes.
Chris Onsted, and I'll keep my comments brief so to get you guys back on track. A couple of things. First, to address the issue of sharing. That's one of the main reasons why we're going to extension districts, is the complex issues that we're dealing with in our communities are not something a generalist can do anymore. And so being able to specialize is really helping us to hit those home runs and address those complex issues. A generalized agent really can't do that, but when we have specialization, they're able to hopefully influence those things. And if those are needs here and they're needs in Marion, it's extension's obligation to do that. And I guess from what it sounds like, it's been very positive, and I'd like to be able to do that a little bit more. To address a couple of the other questions that came up, there are many actually counties that are looking at extension district right now. Over half the state at this point is in an extension district. Okay, as of July 1, Finney County and Scott County will be in a district. Of course, Finney County is Garden City, so we have another large unit. A couple of other places that has happened is Great Bend and Hayes, Barton and Ellis County, a couple of years went into a district. So we have large communities that are also seeing the benefit from it. Well, Wyandotte Johnson, those guys that are going, it's hard to say. They actually have a large staff, and so they have some of the specialization already. But another thing I'd like to point out is about 6 years ago, Post Rock received an award from the state for one of the best functioning extension units in the state. In other words, they were really meeting the obligations of the clients through some of the specialization and the recognition that they got from those folks. So I just want to drop that. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate the tough decisions you make. So, thanks for listening.
Are there others that would like to make comments? And, yes, Scott?
I'm Scott Reynolds, and the last few people that were up here kind of had a common thread. Mr. Roller was talking about that common thought, if you think it's expensive to educate kids, wait till you put them in jail or something like that. That's great. And then they talk about all the serving kids, and I had no idea until I started kind of hanging around the extension office in a volunteer position, since I was lucky enough that I had time. I retired from teaching, and it kind of formulated something in my mind. When I first started as a very green young teacher, I started at Kennedy School here in Abilene, and that was only about a year after Dickinson County and Salina. There was kids from Marion and some from Geary County. They got together, the superintendents from those counties and schools, and they said, we have kids with special needs that we're not serving very well. You know, Scott had kids in his class that we measured their success by how well they folded their sheets at home. And I had no idea how to teach those kids. And so they said, let's form a co-op. And Carl's wife was one of them that came over from Salina. And she was one of the first ones that arrived at the middle school. And there was no way that we could have matched these people's skills. We were classroom teachers, and we had some great teachers at Kennedy, but they had no idea what new forms were out there. And we started a co-op. We were some of the first ones in the state of Kansas to do it. Was it scary? The idea of it was scary. Did it cost some? We added teachers to our staff, but they were also shared between Salina and these other counties that we pulled from. They, when I look back at some of those kids I had in my class that were in Kennedy School, you'll see them all over this town. They were able to be educated, whether it's folding sheets or whether it's sacking groceries up at West. It does a fantastic job. Whether it's at the recycling center, they do a fantastic job out there. I've checked. Those people out at the recycling center with OCCK have financial advisors. They are going to be covered under CAPERS. If they're full-time to some point, they get health benefits. These people are successful in their own ways. Do you think there's any parents of these kids that would say that was a bad idea back in the 1970s to form a co-op where my kid can get better services and you're not going to find one do it? This is a change. We're going to form a co-op, and I don't think it's anything to be scared of. I had no idea that the extension office downtown served so many kids and benefited so many kids. I had no idea. There's not too many. That's a very well kept secret, and they should be applauded, and they do wonderful, wonderful things for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Shauna Riffle, and I would like to echo what Scott said. I currently serve as the Leadership Squad Advisor. So I work with children ranging from the ages of 6th grade to senior in high school. And in Dickinson County, we have had probably the highest maintained population of that age group because we provide activity for them to do. We've worked with Scott Reynolds quite a bit with Community Garden and some of those things, so we give our kids opportunity. And our children are familiar with Marion County. We've done things with Marion County. We actually use Ricky Roberts Services as part of our livestock education program. I've had 3 kids go through the 4-H program. My youngest is a senior in high school this year. He will have completed 12 years of 4-H, as did my girls. I'm very proud to say that we are from Dickinson County and that we have had the program that we've had, But I look forward to offering those services to Marion County and getting the expertise that Marion County has to offer to us as well. I think it would be a great partnership that we could share and learn from.
Okay. Thank you, Shawna. Are there other comments or, yes? Gina will take you first.
Before I forget what I was going to say, I'll be real quick. Gina Dalton. I've served how many years ago on the Extension Board?
7 now?
It's been 7 years since I've been on the Extension Board, and this was a topic 7 years ago. We discussed this, and tried to get it going. And I still see Ricky, I still see Jill, I still see the same people. I see them working together all the time. Like Shawna said, they do a lot with Marion County. I think it's been 7 years too long, and I think that we need to move this thing forward and get them together and start the district program. I appreciate what you said, because I understand all the kids programs, and I know that that's huge. But I also think it's a kept secret of all the other programs that they do. I had no idea about the CAN care program. I had no idea about the elderly. But they do provide just an abundance of service besides 4-H and kids. So
Okay.
7 years too long. Let's move this forward.
Yes.
Can I say about 3 sentences? I applaud everything Extension does. I'm not opposed to Extension. They do great programs for the kids and everything. All I was trying to say is that this assistance with CAN care applications is relatively in its infancy. And I firmly predict that your staff person is going to be making it a full-time job here in Dickinson County. And if she's the expert of the 5 people, that's great to have her here in Dickinson County. But Marion County is going to have the same number of senior citizens down there. And are you not going to dilute that value of that expert if she has to spend half her time traveling and being in Marion County? I just think that this is going to get bigger. I mean, as we age, the need for this assistance is going to grow. And I hate to see you get your expert that's split between 2 destinations, is all I've been trying to say.
Thank you.
Let me just comment one more time. I should have introduced myself. Renee Reedy, Family Consumer Science Agent, till I get my new role name down. I do just want to reiterate, and again, I appreciate your comments. They do have a really strong Department on Aging down there. And so I think that she's going to be in the same position that I am here. And so I think that certainly we're hearing what you're saying for sure, and that'll be part of the operational agreement, would be my guess.
One of the items that hasn't been emphasized that caught my attention is the fact that when you put the 2 budgets together, that actually the amount that Dickinson County would contribute would go down, and Marion would need to step up and come forward. And so that gives us a little bit of an economic advantage initially in that particular area. And you know, once again, this would have to be something that Marion County would agree to contractual terms, which we aren't even to that part yet, as well as we would need to agree to any changes or items that they would put in there. So I mean, there's still a consideration back and forth, you know, as far as a fairness factor and balancing, and so anyway, that's something that would be considered still. Are there any other comments? I think we've heard plenty, and I don't want to leave anyone out, though, if anyone briefly has anything to add or say. I know everybody is busy and has busy schedules, and so I appreciate the fact that you've taken time to come here today. And I know I've heard, you know, community discussion about it. I've had people stop me in the coffee shop, at church, phone calls, and of course that's part of the job description we have is to hear comments and to consider those. Are there any questions from the commission? I think at this point we can consider the resolution. If it would be something to adopt, it's Resolution 022720 to approve a proposed extension district. Would there be a motion from the commission in regards to that?
I'll make the motion.
And that's a motion for approval?
Exactly.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion on the resolution?
Yeah, Lynn. I agree with the sustainability. I was on the Extension Council back a long time ago, back when Carl was, when we approached Saline County and Ottawa County about Central Kansas, and they rejected us back then. And long story short, that's nothing back. And I do agree with the sustainability. That's part of it. But I'll have to agree with Hank on the fact is that are we going to be doing our senior population benefit by districting with Marion County? Because I think as Renee would have enough people, probably need more than one person just to sustain Dixon County. So that's my thoughts on it. But I do appreciate all the comments and stuff and the sustainability of it, because I do remember when I came on and Glenn came on, the county commissioners didn't have the foresight, or I don't want to talk badly about them, but you know, when we lost an agent, ag agent, they didn't fill it for several years, 3 years, and Lynn and I were, Laverne and I were on. We did fund the budget for that, and we just added a 4th agent that's coming up this year to support the, I'm not going to call them aging, but adult population in Dixon County. So I hate to see that be diluted by having to go down to Marion County. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I might mention we don't have a formalized reciprocal type agreement, but I know when we had the vacancy here in the county that I would hear that people would call Carl over at Saline County, and Saline County didn't say, well, they didn't bill us for it or anything like that, but I mean, he was able to help when he could, and Chuck Oddie was able to help over at Geary County, and of course they do come out from Kansas State University also if there's assistance. Now I think one of the things on the agreement, and this is kind of the details that is not worked out, in my way of thinking, and this would be something I know for the extension to consider, I don't think this means that all of a sudden 50% of our time of our 4 agents would be in Marion County. And I don't think necessarily 50%. So I mean, there's, especially with computers and the support of Kansas State, I mean, I think there would be some give and take in that particular area. But I think that would be important to find out on CanCare, for example, you know, what that would look like. How much time would a person need to go to Marion County and back and forth? And then having said that, I know Renee lives in the south part of the county, so I don't think you'd necessarily come into Abilene and then turn around and drive back south. But there are details like that that I think do need to be considered, and that we would have to figure that part out.
Well, I also comment on that too, is when we, last year when we started budgeting for it, I had a Flint Hills Department of Aging called me up and wanted to know, you know, if we were going to give $46,800 to extension, why didn't we just give it to them so they could do the work for us? Well, that'd be diluting it down. We wouldn't get that benefit from Flint Hills, because I'm not sure what benefit we get right now. So that's my other concern, want to keep it local. Our next, and like I said, I'm 68 years old. I'm gonna need all the help I can get.
I'm younger, so.
Yeah, I know.
Let's make that clear. I am going to go ahead and mention what this resolution involves, and then if we have other comments here from the commission. It is, the proposal would say that the Board of County Commissioners of Dickson County is authorized to approve an agreement pertaining to the proposed extension district. It says, whereas it's the desire of the Dickson County Extension Council to join Marion County Extension Council in forming an extension district. All these are pursuant to Kansas statute. Prior to approving the agreement of the proposed extension district, the Board of County Commissioners of Dickson County is required to provide certain notice, and so Barb would be handling that notice as far as in the official newspaper. The Board of County Commissioners of Dickson County, that it is the intention of the Board of County Commissioners to approve an agreement to permit Dickson County Extension Council to join Marion County Extension Council in forming an extension district. The extension district shall have for its sole purpose the giving of instruction and practical demonstration of agriculture, marketing, home economics, family and consumer sciences, 4-H club and youth work, community and resource development and economic development initiatives to all persons in the extension district, and the imparting of such persons of information on the subjects through practical demonstrations, meetings, publications, otherwise in accordance with the program and service provided and prescribed by the governing body of the extension district. It also says that if within 60 days following the last publication of the resolution, a petition in opposition to the approval of the agreement and the inclusion of Dickson County in the extension district is signed by not less than 5% of the qualified electors of Dickson County and is filed with the Dickson County election officer, which would be Barb Jones, the Board of County Commissioners of Dickson County will not approve this agreement, and Dickson County will not be included in the extension district unless and until the agreement is approved by a majority of qualified electors of Dickson County voting at a primary or a general election or a special election called for such purpose. And so, so that's where we are with this particular resolution 022720. We have a second. Is there any discussion, additional discussion or comment before we call the question?
Lynn?
Yes, sir.
Before you vote, I've never heard the resolution. Nowhere in there was a mention of any elder law issues in that resolution anywhere. So if you adopt this, you're excluding it because they aren't even supposed to address it. I mean, it isn't even mentioned in there.
Is it the family and consumer science part?
Yes.
Yes, it's within.
That'd be right up in the operational agreement.
It would be written up in the operational agreement as part of the family consumer sciences part.
Okay. But there also would be a copy of the resolution, so I mean, if someone does have a particular question or anything on that, I mean, it's certainly available for public review or legal review. Okay, I'll go ahead and call for the question to approve resolution number 022720. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
We have 2 ayes and 1 no. It would pass on a 2-to-1 vote. Okay. We'll probably be finished in about 5 minutes, but if any of you want to leave, I understand. We do not have unfinished business. We have a bid for a Fair Road Bridge replacement, and I've been advised that this would be tabled, waiting on additional information. So the next item we would have consider policy number 516 regarding the purchase card use. Brad, would you want to give us more information on that?
Yes, last week I provided you a copy of a draft policy regarding purchase cards. As you know, we, as county employees, have a number of purchase cards that we use for making purchases for county business. We do have some very weak policies in place, and we feel like that we needed to shore these up to give not only employees direction on so that they know how to appropriately, what is appropriate and what's not. But also give us a little bit of enforcement authority in case something is done improperly. So I don't know if you had a chance to review those or look at that, but it's pretty straightforward stuff and I think pretty common sense, and we would request that be made county policy.
Okay. Are there any questions or a motion to adopt policy number 516 regarding purchase card use?
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and second for adjournment. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.